Okay, this is another glimpse into the process I'm going through now. Let's get this Bitcoin Explorer away. Let's get the terminal window away. I have now started taking this cursory look into the state of AI now. And since I've always been playing around with hardware and I've always been early in on tech, as an example, I bought my first scanner and printer in '96, working as a photographer, analog, scanning it. I got into Linux in '98, and it's not about bragging. It's about this process of seeing where technology is at. I've stayed away from AI except for testing, is obviously, and following the base concept, because I've had to have these years to prepare for the onslaught of it and prepare for this phase where it's taking over, and I resisted doing biometrics on my bank for as long as I could. I'll keep resisting that. I do not rely purely on banks, obviously. I've already got banned once because I didn't have a place slip any longer. So, and then I discovered this. Local AI, because I need to tame AI. I'm gonna go into learning the scripting languages and then all of the basic concepts. I get the idea of it. I followed it since you had the first neural networks creating these hallucinatory rough images. I remember very well the first the first thought criminal chatbot. And I know that we are on the verge of real locally run self-owned AI. We're really on the verge of that being available. I know kind of the cost of setting up a local training model or a dedicated server. It's not something I can finance now. And I'm seeing that the search results for doing this completely on your own is now sinking. Like, the automation and the automated products is now coming to such a degree that to set it up completely on your own and run it completely on your own is going to become more of a challenge, and AI itself will after a while kind of cover it up. At the same time, these consumer devices are going to be available, and I'm looking at ways of using AI in a Linux setting on an older laptop like this, maybe build a local model. But if I do that, if I invest what little I have, it's going to be outdated after a year or two. But then I found this USB accelerator, which is a tensor learning unit. Because the structure of AI, the random trying out of all of these trillions of contact points, that is what makes AI work. This is what was discovered initially when these hallucinations came out. It was very fun because, like, knowing how the mind and senses work from Buddhism and meditation, I really related, like, oh, it's hallucinating, it's dreaming. It's operating on a basis where it's not fully capable. So it was hallucinating a lot, and it's still doing that. Suddenly you get like a head attached to a finger or something. But it was way more obvious early on. So it seems that there are products now where you can accelerate existing systems using hardware. I guess the parallel is maybe like early days in Bitcoin. You could mine, and the first miners, you could buy one and it actually paid off. this is going to happen. Like AI is integrated in many phones and laptops, and I've found lists of, you can even buy a tiny PCI cards and you can inject that. I don't know yet how that software owns you, but I'm seeing here that you even get USB accelerators going for as little as $60 that claim to be able to boost existing databases and programs and software and private, like day-to-day use to a scary degree. So this is what they're gonna do, like build your own edge AI application from sketch to reality. Yeah, well, this is gonna be let loose on families where you have like 5 phones and 2 fridges and everything is, and like 200 social media accounts and login accounts and everything, and it's gonna take over. It's gonna take over whole cultures. Because people use these things. Like this laptop is 7 years old. I think I'm looking at laptops. ThinkPad X200 because I want one with no backdoors, and I'm gonna keep resisting this as well as I can. But I also need to use this tech eventually. Like when I was a photographer and I was doing this hybrid digital, I later in my company we worked with the son of one of the first printers in the country who started doing everything digital, and he told me a lot about being on the cutting edge, and it was a great thing to get that kind of experience from him. And I knew I was prototyping the same at the same time, and I was thinking like, well, maybe I should start a digital agency. But they already had a very successful agency. But the cost was astronomical, and the amount of time they had to fight with drivers and software. It's like, so it's gonna be something the same. The problem now is that it's way too easy to just use. But to tame it's going to be a lot of work, but the hardware is available. So even if this is not, even if it's not possible to use this without coupling it to an API and giving data away, I'll probably get one. And worst case, I can set up a sandboxed machine and I can test it out and even sniff the traffic. And but there is one use case here, like object detection, because I got 4 or 5 terabytes or 1 terabyte of meaningful quality photography that I want to show, and I've got it's all messed up because it's 10 years since I had the time to really structure that library, and then I had most of my belongings being stolen by a criminal storage provider in after 2020, including my old backup disk. So it's all, I didn't lose much, maybe a little, but it would be great for me. Like, this is a great use case if I can use it in, and actually, and I wouldn't matter too much to me if some training data is shared. I don't obviously want my archive to be ripped off and shared, but that you can analyze to make sure that they are not stealing it, outright stealing it. I can watch the traffic, like the traffic volume. So there's object detection here, which means that bottom line, if I spend $60 buying this, and if I spend some days to get it going and some weeks to really learn to use it, if I can do object detection, it's already paid off, both in terms of investment and time. Pose estimation, image segmentation. So, I mean, if it can really identify various objects, and if it can train on my local data, I can, well, like in Tibetan Buddhism, there's like many like symbols. I can do like bell, like I can give it an image of a bell, and I get all of my, I can do, one very relevant thing is I've got lots of pictures of stray dogs, and I can get all of my phone cat pictures. I can give it to the model, and get it to sort it, and then I can publish content on it. Estimate the poses of people in an image by identifying various body joints. This is a very scary thing because gait analysis is a thing. Just by walking past a camera, say in an airport, if that system already knows who you are from checking in, it might register your gait, and you can even be. Well, these companies claim that they can identify people from the way they walk. So to avoid that kind of surveillance, you'd have to tape up some of your muscles. And you have to do it a different way the other day, and it's gonna be close to impossible. Soon we're gonna have this bifurcated like this. We're gonna have this reality where some people on the ground just. I bet you can find retreat centers and like local farms and things where if you wanna get close to them, you have to lock your phone and your devices in a safe, or that's in a cave or something, because they don't want any of it close. And if you bring a phone, and someone will whip out the hammer and smash it. That's necessary, but it's also necessary to be in this fight. I remember 10 years ago in Asia, I met a hyper networking guy, and fascinating character, but he was into like IOTA and Internet of Things. It was obvious by then where this was gonna go. Asus announces partnership with Coral from Google. Yeah, it's all the same usually. So it's all the same usual suspects. This particular USB seems to be working on Google AI for developers. Well, if it is open source, and if you can download this already trained LLM, and then you can locally build out your own routines based on your own material within that big LLM locally without sharing any data, well, that's a go. It will still have the biases and all of the previous knowledge from the skewed data it's been trained on. How long is it going to take before your locally trained data is surpassing the biases of the already trained data and what you download, basically? I don't know. Is it possible for a few $1,000s in a year, or even now, to buy a workstation and then maybe upgrade it with a few more processing units for AI, if your GPU or neural or these new available types of hardware? If I could start now, and I know like in 2 or 3 years the types of text and all the type of learning I'm feeding into it will actually be genuine AI based on your genuine culture, or the genuine content that I want to train it on, then it might be worth the time. And electricity costs and everything, of course. So I guess this would go on both channels. It's yet another example of how to work with this emerging reality, and like the organic networks of real people on the ground that already exist, that are unsensible, will become way more important. Like, I've been on Nostr quite a bit, totally unsensible. It's based on a protocol. It might be vulnerable towards AI bots creating new accounts and passing as humans, but there is an existing network. I have like 700 plus followers, who knows, because you never know on Nostr, which is great. a lot of really established voices in this fight are already there and already have. There's already an existing network that would know that it's being attacked. Nostr is super tech heavy, tech people. Hive has got all of the tech people, of course, because it's built by tech people, but it's very organic. It's got loads of people in many countries or local groups that actually meet up, and I've gotten so many glimpses into other people's real organic reality that is impressive, and I think this is why it's hyper really valuable. Even if it fails, it's going to be really valuable because people will want to reconnect. Ultimately, from the open source, from the freedom movement, from the sanity perspective of local cultures and being yourself outside of the West, ideally these things should merge, like open source, using hardware that is available, taking over big language models by training them continuously in other directions, using the organic existing networks, merging those. Like, why should not, like Zaps, which is micropayments on Sats, on Bitcoin, and Hive, I'm gonna piss off, like all of the Bitcoin people are gonna be pissed off now because I mentioned something outside of Bitcoin. And then Monero, why should it not merge? Why should it not be possible to send, I can do this, I'll do this, I'll set it up for myself, but why should that not be available? I mean, it can even be like, if you're on Nostr, you have to do some extra steps, or you have to install something to also take part in the Hive economy, and vice versa. Why shouldn't? I know the Monero community is totally happy about integrating with anyone, so that's the least of a problem. It's maybe another discussion, and I don't expect this to happen. I don't expect that I can do anything about it. What I think I can do is to do this and get this thing and do some interesting traveling and trying to find people to interview and get a focus on taming AI for use of ordinary people, ordinary entities on the ground. Well, it's for sure is interesting if you can get actual AI that actually boosts your processes on actual hardware that is not completely owned on the cloud. If you can get that done, we are in a different reality. I guess this is the base version here is, of course, coupled to a cloud LLM and of course owned via an API, but it seems like it's possible to set up a very modest or Linux desktop and then fuse it with this. I'm gonna test it out.